Hello, welcome to East London and the UEFA Ultimate Champions Google Plus Hangout.
Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out. Won't you give me that beat, check it out.
Well, that's just a small taste of things to come. We're live at the Champions Festival here in the shadow of the Olympic Stadium. There's still time to come and join us if you live in London, but if you don't worry. We're going to bring you the very best of what's going on. The Ultimate Champions match live. We'll have interviews with the stars and we'll have a few surprises in between as well. Hello, I'm Mark Pugac. Andy Brassel from UEFA.com is with us as well. Most importantly of all, though, we want to hear from you. You are key in all this as we use the Google Plus Hangout technology to bring fans together from around the world for an amazing experience. So our first question for everybody around the world and for Andy is, who is going to have the biggest impact this evening? We all know an all-German affair, Bayern München against Borussia Dortmund at Wembley Stadium this evening. Andy, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact? Who's the key player tonight in this all-German fight?
Well, firstly, Mark, I think we have to say the UEFA.com readers and the people who've been enjoying the UEFA Champions League Festival here have been having their say. But most of them have said ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo, ahead of Lionel Messi, the most influential player in the UEFA Champions League this season has been Robert Lewandowski of Dortmund. And of course, he proved that with those 4 goals in the semi-final against Real Madrid. But also, we've got to think of all the players that Bayern have. And I think a lot of people will look at Arjen Robben, one of the best players in the 2010 final, very close to sealing glory last year. Could this be his year finally?
Okay, let's get on to the hangout then. Who is going to make the biggest impact? And first of all, it's Christian. Christian, thanks for joining us. Tell us where you are and who's going to make the biggest impact in your view this evening.
Well, I'm in London at the moment, and I think Arjen Robben. I think it's very fitting that he says this is the happiest period of his career. He's before been quite a divisive character, but if you watch him playing for Bayern, he works so hard, and I think having that added facet of his work rate just shows how much he wants to do this tonight.
Thank you very much for that, Andy. It's an interesting point he makes there about how hard the wide men work for Bayern Munich as well, isn't it? But also how much revenge really is on their minds after what happened last year at home against Chelsea.
I think that's part of it, but I think the way they've processed those feelings and turned them into something really positive, they've been absolutely unstoppable this season. And Robben's a really great example of the hunger that Jupp Heynckes, the coach, has given to this Bayern side. That he does work so hard on the flanks, and that was a real feature of the semi-final against Barcelona. It's the same with Franck Ribéry on the other side. They're real formidable proposition physically as well as technically.
Okay, so we've got a vote for Robben there. Next up, we've got Marcus. Marcus, thanks for joining us on the Hangout. Where are you and who's going to make the biggest impact later?
Yeah, I'm in London as well, chaps. Personally, I think that Bastian Schweinsteiger is an obvious one to go for because he's quite a famous player these days. But I think with 2 German sides, what's great is it'll be more perhaps like a derby atmosphere, maybe not so cagey. I think that Dortmund will want to go at Bayern. Obviously, Bayern will be the favourites, but I'm certainly hoping that it will be quite end-to-end. And with that, you need someone who's a very driving type of midfield player who's great, but also gets stuck in, be very solid in the centre as well. So I think Schweinsteiger is one of those players that is crucial for the big games and will have a lot of say in what goes on this evening.
Marcus, thank you very much indeed for that. Schweinsteiger gets the vote there. Then he was an outstanding footballer, of course, and he's desperate to add this to his roll call of honours, the Champions League.
Yes, and I think Marcus makes a really good point, Mark. The fact that Schweini has that thing that drives him on. And last season, he played a lot of the end of last season with an injury. He got a little calf pull during the penalty shootout last year, but he just kept going. He really is the spirit and the heart of Bayern as well.
Okay, Ross is next up. Ross, who's going to make the biggest impact this evening?
I think Ilkay Gundogan will be a big player tonight. I think he sort of symbolises what Dortmund are about. He's young, ambitious, energetic, and I think he'll set the tempo in midfield tonight. I think also, especially given that Bayern are built around Martinez and Schweinsteiger, I think it'll be really important for Dortmund to break that up.
Okay, Ross, midfield's key in any game, of course, particularly the Champions League final as well. And a game between two teams who know each other so well. Could be the defining area of the field, Andy.
That's absolutely right, but the question with Gundogan is how exactly are they going to use him? They've been speculating in the German papers that perhaps they'll use him as a number 10 to sort of replace Mario Götze, who's not playing, of course, tonight, Mark. But Gundogan, I agree with Ross, he's better a little deeper, pulling the strings. And Marco Reus himself was talking about that earlier this week. He's the brain of the team, is the way Reus put it.
Okay, let's move on then. Nicholas is next. Nicholas, thanks for joining us on the Hangout. Who do you think is going to make the biggest impact this evening?
I think it's going to be a battle in the midfield, and I think both Gundogan and Schweinsteiger are going to be vital players to watch throughout the evening. And hopefully, I think Ilkay Gundogan is going to make the biggest impact. I think he can set the pace for Dortmund, and he can make them tick.
Well, he's an outstanding player. Maybe it's only this season that the rest of Europe, the rest of the world have really got a handle on just how good this player is for Dortmund.
I think that's right, Mark. And he had a very difficult start to his career at Dortmund. There was a lot of expectation on him because he was replacing Nuri Sahin, who of course has come back now. Now Sahin can't get in the team because Gundogan's been so good.
Are you expecting it to be more like almost a Bundesliga match than a European match, because the two teams obviously are from the same league and know each other so well? I mean, what sort of shape do you think the game will take?
Well, I think these games always have a sort of Classico feel to them because it's becoming a genuinely great rivalry in modern European football, like we've seen with Real Madrid and Barcelona, for example. But I think if we look at the physiology of these sort of games over the last 3 seasons, they're always very tight. So I expect a lot of tension.
Okay, one more in the Hangout for now, and we've got Susie. Susie, who's going to make the biggest impact this evening in this game we're all looking forward to? Susie, can you hear us? Susie, let's try Susie again.
I think it's going to be Thomas Müller. He created his own word for what he does, Raumdeuter, a space investigator. Pops up in the most unlikely places, but also puts in a massively wonderful defensive work rate. The tie against Juventus, him and Mandzukic effectively shut down Pirlo, which turned the tide in Bayern's favor. And I can see him have a kind of match today, and just love how he shows up unexpectedly in the box and creates.
Susie, thank you very much for that. Fantastic young player, of course. Probably thought he'd won the Champions League last year with his header as well. First time we've heard somebody saying that he's going to be the key man tonight.
Susie makes a great point in that Thomas Müller always slips under the radar. Not just when we're discussing him, but on the pitch as well. Like you say, that goal in the final, his goals against Barcelona in the semi. There's something that Martin Peters about him, really. The way he goes into the box, like very English-style player in a way.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Müller one side, Lewandowski on the other, of course.
Yeah, that's right, and who knows, maybe even together next season.
Who knows, indeed. Okay, thank you very much indeed, and that's all from the Hangout for now. Okay, all German affair, of course, this evening in London here. Borussia Dortmund against Bayern München. Andy was making a good point to me earlier. There seem maybe to be more Dortmund fans around, or is that just because their colours stand out a little bit more?
Yeah, perhaps it's not something you'd wear to the shops. Yeah, we've already seen Emma, the Borussia Dortmund bumblebee, getting photos with fans of both teams as well. She's quite a personality.
It's a great recovery, this, from Dortmund, where they were financially once upon a time, isn't it? You know, won the Champions League in '97, then a decade ago had real financial problems, and now here they are pushing Bayern Munich hard in every aspect of football.
Well, I think just in every way, Dortmund's a model of great housekeeping, and they've shown it's not just about money, it's about spirit. And I think that's what Jurgen Klopp has shown, that he's got players not just who are technically on the same wavelength, but who enjoy each other's company, and I think that really comes across when they play.
He did a very interesting interview with the British press this week, which said, as much as anything, when he was talking about Barcelona, Barcelona. I show what they do when they score the goal, how they celebrate together. There was nothing particularly technical about that, but as you say, just to reiterate that sense of unity and team spirit, look at the way they all celebrate a goal together.
That's right. I think the phrase Klopp used is they celebrate every goal like it was their first, even it's their 569th of the last couple of seasons. And I think that's really important. That's something they've managed to maintain. They've lost players before, and but I think they've grown in sort of professional stature as well. I was talking to Nuri Sahin about this a while back, and I said, how have things changed since you came back to the club? And he said to me, well, nothing really has changed in the infrastructure of the club, but the players, the same players who I left a year and a half ago, they're just so much better. They're all internationals, they're all accomplished, they all know what they're doing.
They've probably got the neutrals with them, let's be honest. There's, the neutrals always tend to favour one team over the other. They're probably just with Borussia tonight, don't you think?
Yeah, perhaps from that colourful aspect, as we were saying, but I think Bayern have really attracted a lot of people with the way they've played this season, with the amount of goals they've scored, and I think a lot of people would like them to do it for Jupp Heynckes because he's been such a fantastic character. He's given 50 years of his life to football, and people are writing him off as long as 10 years ago, and saying football's moved on. Well, he's moved on with it.
It was an astonishing comment, wasn't it, from the Bundesliga 10 years ago, bearing in mind what he's done since. OK, we've got the ultimate match taking place in a few moments' time, and some very special guests who've been arriving in the last 10 or 15 minutes or so. Let's see who's here. Will Smith is here with his son as well. They've been in London all week as well. And I think we're going to hear from our reporter a little bit later on, Nigel Adley, just how much of an expert Will Smith might be on the great game of football, but extremely popular here, of course, and I'm sure being up to speed with what's going on in the Champions League as well. And there's his son too. There we go. That's quite an experience, isn't it, when your son is signing as many autographs as you are? That doesn't happen.
The baton is passed.
The baton is passed, isn't it? In quite as many households as that. We've got some fantastic names, of course, as well, playing in the Champions match a little bit later on, and many of the players who've won the Champions League over the last 10, 15 years or so. Right, let's go pitchside now and catch up with our reporter down there, Nigel Adley.
Yeah, a massive crowd and an even better atmosphere here at pitchside, Mark, before the Ultimate Legends games. Players spanning 21 years of the UEFA Champions League and beyond. So Will Smith and his son Jaden aren't the only megastars here. They'll be coming onto the pitch very, very soon to taking part in a penalty shootout with our two goalkeepers today, Edwin van der Sar and Jens Lehmann. They'll also be carrying out the toying cost before the game. And we'll be hearing from Will Smith and his son as the game is taking place later on today. But it's a terrific... So many huge footballing names here for this game here. The likes of Ian Rush from the pre-Champions League days, who won the European Cup 29 years ago, right up to date. Jamie Carragher, another Liverpool legend who retired from playing in the English Premier League only 6 days ago. So this match is about to take place, and of course we'll have coverage of that, and we'll also have Will Smith.
Thank you very much indeed, Nigel. Yes, some fantastic names just looking down here, and I noticed Karl-Heinz Riedler, of course, who so famously scored some goals as Borussia Dortmund won in 1997, so there we'll hope that he's a bit of a lucky omen for them this evening. That's right. I think Lewandowski will have to go some to match that. It was the real high point of Riedler's career. But again, that was another team that really worked for itself, that, you know, had 11 players who were so important to the whole effort. Yeah, some fantastic names just looking down here. Jens Lehmann, of course, who's played in a Champions League final for Arsenal. Ian Rush, as we heard about, Giovanni Bronkhorst, who won it, of course, for Barcelona in 2006. Right, time now for another hangout. Okay, so what we're going to talk about this time is looking at the team sheet and looking at some of the great players from yesteryear who are playing today. If there's one that you could buy for your team now, who exactly would it be? Who is the outstanding player from so many great players that we're going to see in this this ultimate match in a few moments' time? Let's start with our next hangout then. Who have we got on the line, and who do you say it is?
Hi, we've got Jim here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Jim. Far away.
Hey, hello. How you doing? For me, I think the standout player has to be Luis Figo. It's clearly the one that's I think is going to be the big draw. You know, we've seen him kicking footballs into TV screens in adverts and stuff so far, but I think he's probably still got it. And I'm excited about Jens Lehmann as well. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about Jens Lehmann? He's a huge character, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching what he's been up to.
Well, Jens Lehmann certainly is great value, isn't he? He always has something to say. But Luis Figo, of course, one of the greats of the last 10, 15 years, Andy.
That's right, and succeeded in a couple of great teams after starting at Sporting. Went and was part of the Johan Cruyff era at Barcelona, then went on to Real Madrid and won a couple of UEFA Champions Leagues there. So a real legend of this competition and just of European football in general. And if you look at him now, he looks like he can do it all over again.
Well, Jens Lehmann looks in good shape as well, and he will enjoy, of course, the fact that it's an all-German final. Didn't work out for him at Arsenal in the final, Jens Lehmann, but he'll enjoy the all-German affair tonight.
I think he will, and I think he'll enjoy this because he's quite a competitive sort.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, next up, Kristen in the Hangout. Kristen, who do you think from the legends we're going to see is the one that you like the most?
I like Lars Ricken. Just because he had the temerity with his first touch to lob a goalkeeper in the Champions League final. How can you not admire that? Everyone else would take a touch, maybe even run to the corner, but not Lars. He was just bumped straight over the top of it.
Yeah, Chris, it's a great point you make. Someone was actually telling me the other day that he didn't actually break stride from coming on. Literally, didn't he? Ran into position and scored in that final in '97 without even breaking stride.
That's right, and one of the great UEFA Champions League final goals as well. I just love it. When you watch it, you can still feel the tension as it hangs in the air above Peruzzi and then just drops. But a lot of people who I was speaking to around the festival yesterday are a bit disappointed that he's not actually playing, that he's only managing one of the teams. But at least he's here.
At least he's here. Great goal, which we remember. Marcus, who are you looking forward to most of all in this Legends match?
I think, having seen a few images and a few little videos of him taking training sessions at Swansea, Michael Laudrup could still definitely do a job in a lower league side, I reckon. So I think he's still got the class, and obviously played for Madrid and Barcelona, so his CV's glowing. I'm looking forward to seeing Laudrup. I'm also looking forward to seeing Jamie Carragher, because he's only just finished playing, and therefore will still treat this as a proper game and may put in a reducer on one of the former pros. So that'll be quite interesting to see that.
He might do, Marcus. Thank you very much. I've interviewed Laudrup quite a lot this season, of course, at Swansea City, and they say that in 5-a-side, 7-a-sides at Swansea, he's still probably the best player there. I mean, he's the greatest footballer that Denmark ever produced. I don't think anybody in Denmark would argue with me with that one.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite an achievement to be the best one in his family, because they've produced a few. But yeah, he's an absolute legend, and it'll be great to see him out there today. But one quote I particularly like from Laudrup this season, when they said, "You played with Luis Figo at Barcelona," I believe someone said, and he stopped and hesitated for a second and said, "Maybe Figo would say he played with me."
And another colleague of mine interviewed him and said, "Just remind me, did you ever play at Wembley?" And he went, "Yes, I won the final at Wembley." What a player. Paul is up next. Paul, who are you looking forward to seeing most of all in this Legends match?
Well, Marcus has pretty much just stolen my answer there. Obviously, Jamie Carragher. I mean, I was lucky enough to be at the Pulse Academy a couple of weeks ago, and even they say when he trains with the kids, he gives 110%. So there might be one or two players there looking to have kind of an easy time, stroll around, show a few tricks and flicks. Jamie Carragher will be going in 110%.
He certainly will, and anyone who was in Istanbul, I was lucky enough to be there, will never forget the part that he played in that most sensational of comebacks.
Absolutely, and I think people thought his level had dropped off, and this season they've really realised how much they're going to miss him going forward, not just on the pitch but in the dressing room, of course. But it's interesting, Paul talking there about will other players be as competitive as Carragher. Well, we saw the futsal demonstration yesterday, and believe me, Cafu is competitive.
Yep, I think all footballers are competitive for the rest of their lives in my experience. Susie, finally to you, who are you looking forward to seeing in this great game?
I got to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to seeing Paul Breitner as a coach. Fantastic defender in his day, and a little bit aggressive and arrogant, and always has some fantastic quotes to say, and looking forward to seeing how he controls his team.
I agree with you entirely there. Thank you, Susie, because he was, of course, part of those legendary Bayern and Germany teams in the 1970s.
And Real Madrid, of course.
And Real Madrid, he went on there, didn't he? Absolutely sensational defender and player.
That's right. Again, he's one of those ones, even if he's a little older, you're a little disappointed that he's not playing. UEFA.com's German reporter, Andy James, was lucky enough to have a couple of hours chat with him in a traffic jam yesterday. They were in the same vehicle, in case you wondered. And he was answering the UEFA.com readers' questions as well. So that's something that will be up on the website, and he's got a lot of interesting stuff to say. So have a look at that.
Always has done. So thank you for now. That's the end of this particular Hangout. OK, we're going to hear from Will Smith very shortly, down with Nigel Adley. Some tremendous players out there today. Michael Laudrup playing as well. Cafu, of course, as well, who played in the Champions League, of course, was on the other end in Istanbul that night, but had one before as well, of course. I know you've spoken to him a lot over the years, Cafu, haven't you?
That's right, and yeah, he's very, very excited about this final. He's expecting something quite bone-crunching. I think he expects a lot of physical contact, but of course, he was someone who always had that side to his game. But I think what people love about Cafu so much is not just that he was a great player, but he was someone who completely redefined his position. And, you know, that's great and a little bit more.
Certainly is. OK, let's head down now to Nigel Adley, who's got our very special guest with him here this afternoon.
Footballing superstars, we've got Will Smith and his son Jaden here. Are you looking forward to Wembley tonight?
Oh yeah, this is going to be fantastic. You know, I was just saying how I remember my father took me first basketball game, so this is me taking my son. This is our first soccer game, a huge international competition, so we're loving it.
I'll just ask you about your film. You've got a father and son story at the heart of that. How much fun was it working with your actual son?
You know, that is just beautiful. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy it?
It was fun, right? Yeah. No, it's fantastic. You have a teenager, you know, there's something really mythological about the 13-year-old going off with his father to work, and we're actually here as a part of that continuing journey. So I feel great. I love you, man. I love you, man.
Thank
All right,
you.
thanks.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed there, Nigel Adley, with father and son, the film star father and son, down there on the touchline as we look ahead to this game. We'll have more of a hangout as well, a couple more of those to come after the game has finished. But just having a look through the team sheets, let's just have a quick look to see who else is out there today that people are looking forward to seeing. Edwin van der Sar, of course, won the Champions League in the mid-90s with Ajax, didn't he, all the way through to obviously winning with Manchester United in the teeming reign in Moscow.
That's right, 4 finals, which is quite a record, and of course he got to go out in a final at Wembley in 2011.
Yep, Steve McManaman, of course, I remember scoring. I was there in Paris, scored that magnificent volley against Valencia, wasn't it, for Real Madrid, then played a couple of years later, came on as a sub in the Zidane volley match.
That's right, and of course that McManaman game, I'm sure we can call it the McManaman final. We definitely can. That was, of course, the first time in a UEFA Champions League final that 2 teams from the same country played together, and this will be the 4th time, so it's something that we know can produce something spectacular.
Yeah, we're going around Europe with those as well. We had an all-English final, we've had an all-Spanish final, now we've got an all-German final as well. Just adds a little bit more to it. Giovanni van Bronckhorst won with Barcelona. We noticed, of course, Gianfranco Zola, what a player, particularly here in the UK, massively popular with what he did at Chelsea. That's right, and getting his ideas across in coaching now. He's produced a Watford side. They're absolutely fantastic to watch this season. So he's taking it over to the other side too. Yep, Cafu we mentioned as well, Luis Figo in there, Michael Laudrup, Fabio Cannavaro, one of the greatest centre-halves that the world's ever seen, of course, lifted the World Cup with Italy. What a leap he had for a reasonably small man when it comes to centre-half stature. That's right, it's not all about the size. He was absolutely extraordinary and a real competitor as well. I'm really interested to see what he's brought of that into this game. Yep. And Pierre van Hooijdonk always knew where the goal was, Pierre, wasn't he? Single-mindedly knew where the goal was, that's for sure. Yeah, that's right, and a couple of his old clubs, Benfica and Fenerbahce, have been doing very well in the UEFA Europa League this year, so he's had a lot to say about that. I know he follows those two really closely, but yeah, his right foot's still fierce. Yeah, and as we were hearing a little bit earlier as well, both the coaches are German. Lars Ricken, as we were saying, the star from 1997 for Borussia Dortmund, and Paul Breitner as well, which is one for our older listeners and viewers, of course. And as Andy was saying, played played for Real Madrid as well. In a time when actually in the 1970s you didn't go abroad as often, nearly as often as players do now. That was pretty innovative of him to go abroad.
No, that's right. I was talking to the manager of Montpellier, who were the French champions last year in 2012, recently, René Girard, and he was just saying, I would have loved to go and play abroad, and particularly England, but only the very best went. So it was a real feather in your cap.
So we're seeing pictures here of Will Smith having a little chat with everybody. There's Djokovic as well, the great Yuri Djokovic's in there. There's Van Bronckhorst, number 12, behind him. Now there's Paul Brighton. You see, you wouldn't recognise Paul Brighton these days, would you? Against those great photographs that we used to see at Serginho as well, as you say, in the 1970s. There's Cafu in there too. Fabulous raiding wing back and full back, of course. He's not an actor, is he, Will Smith? Up against Edwin van der Sar. The last penalty I think he faced was a little bit more important in Champions League terms, when it was Nicolas Anelka, of course, stepping up, wasn't it, as well, in the pouring rain. Definitely playing to the crowd. I seem to remember penalty opening USA 94, which didn't go very well as well, didn't it?
That's right.
I think he's allowed another go. He is a rock star. He is a film star after all. And blaming his tools. So here comes the ball down here. Has probably landed with us as well.
It's Jacob's turn. He's got to go. Okay, so here we go.
Well, we've got a good crowd here of probably about, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 who are around this pitch as well, and just coming into the park all the time and enjoying this. Oh, is he handed over to his son?
He's getting tips from the pros, Jayden, which can only be wise.
Oh, well, nice little side foot. Of course, I wonder whether he might actually play, because when he's younger, certainly in the States, very big, isn't it, football for young boys and girls growing up in the States?
Yes, absolutely, very important.
Really popular game as well. I think you might have to let this one in, Edwin, otherwise we'll never get to Wembley on time. I think he's doing his moves from Men in Black by the looks of things. Better strike. Oh! He's managed to chip it over Jens Lehmann. They're going to take 5 each. Graham Lassau's out there as well, I can see too, as the sun comes out. Robert Pires, who played in that Champions League final, of course, in 2006. Jens Lehmann in there as well. So it's 5 each for father and son. I don't think Jens Lehmann's just going to let one in for the sake of it, is he?
No, I don't think either him or Edwin van der Sar are the most benevolent of goalkeepers.
I think that's just. Let's have a quick word about the coaches then tonight as well. Jupp Heynckes to be retiring. Possibly he's going to retire after the greatest season of his life. Now, you could argue that two ways. One, why go now? You've done brilliantly. Or two, what a perfect way to go if they're to win the treble. That's
right. Well, I think it will be the greatest coaching season of his life, whatever happens, because Bayern have just been extraordinary and the best team in Europe this season. But just what he's done as a player and a coach, I think, is incredible. And the fact that he was able to finish it off in the Bundesliga at Borussia Mönchengladbach, where he did so much as a player as well as a coach, was really, really fitting and something that quite touched him, of course.
Well, what's your view on what Bayern have done this season? Have they done what Barcelona have done, particularly in terms of this high pressing game, and just finessed it in their own way, or have they taken it on a stage?
Well, I think they have taken it on a stage, Mark. They've put a traditionally German twist on it, and of course Germany has changed the way it's produced players. It produces more technical players now, but they've retained that sort of strength, that sort of physicality. So it's almost a slightly harder version of Barcelona, and you know that really showed in the UEFA Champions League semi-final, especially in the first leg.
It's going to be fascinating to see what Pep Guardiola does, doesn't he? Or maybe doesn't have to do an awful lot. Maybe just a little bit of finessing, a little bit of tinkering.
Well, perhaps. I mean, you know, it's going to be a completely new experience for him. I don't think he's going to get them to play completely like Barcelona. He wants to go there for a new cultural experience, for a new football experience. But the thing is, in football, nothing stays the same for long. So he will have to make some changes, however painful they may be.
No, you're absolutely right. Because if we, you know, if we had this conversation 2-3 years ago, obviously we would just substitute the words Barcelona for Bayern Munich, wouldn't we? So who's to say in 2 or 3 years' time it might not be somebody else from another country, because it does evolve so quickly. And Jurgen Klopp on the other side for Borussia Dortmund, he's a very highly prized coach, isn't he? I mean, already people have been muttering about whether teams from elsewhere around Europe might be interested in him.
That's right, and I'm sure they are, but he's someone who has committed to the project for a few years more, and I think he realises you're a long time gone from Dortmund. He said when he moved on from Mainz, that was a club that he had a real love affair, a real relationship with. He thought he'd never experience anything like that again, but he realised pretty quickly he'd found that at Dortmund. And I think the fact that he was building a club that was recovering to try and get back towards that former stature, which I think a lot of people thought they wouldn't, that was really important. So he was able to have a lot of say in the whole project, and you can tell that all the players really believe in him and really believe in what he's trying to do.
And we can tell from our travels around Europe that the atmosphere that they have at home, and particularly the colour and the noise, that's not often repeated in many grounds around Europe these days, is it? That absolutely fanatical following they get.
No, it's absolutely extraordinary, Mark. And of course, even when they weren't doing as well 10 years ago, they were still getting 80,000 in every week. So it's something that they know will be behind them the whole way.
It certainly will be. Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund a little bit later on, of course, at Wembley Stadium. So a German team's going to have to lose at Wembley, which doesn't happen very often. And we'll have live commentary on the game very, very soon here as well. We're talking about Jurgen Klopp, and we're talking about Jupp Heynckes and all the great stars that we're going to see this evening in the final, and just maybe working out where the game goes, of course. And Lewandowski, as you said, is, I mean, there's so many subplots tonight because we don't know what he's going to do in the summer. What we do know is for a man who was bought for what, about £4 million from a Polish side 3 or 4 years ago, is now probably the most prized striker in the whole of Europe.
That's right, and he was someone who actually struggled to get in the team at first because they still had Lucas Barrios, but he managed to knock him out of the team, which not many people expected. He had to be very patient through his first season, but he's someone who's really grown and adapted. He's not just a number 9, he's not just a goal scorer. He can play with the ball in front of him, with his back to goal, he can drop deep and make the passes that link, and I think that complementarity is so important in the way that Dortmund play.
In terms of Mario Götze, not what he's going to do in the summer, because we all know about that, but purely in terms of the fact that he's unavailable for tonight, how do Borussia Dortmund go about making up for his absence tactically?
Well, I think Marco Reus is the key for me. Like I said, there had been this speculation that Gundogan would play in the number 10 role. I don't think that's right. I think he's really, really important in that deeper role, in making them tick, as Reus has said himself. And I think if we go back to the semi-finals, Reus was really important actually in a central area, whereas he's made a lot of his name out wide. Just going at Pep and Varane, who are two terrific centre-backs, but he scared the life out of them. And that's something that he can do with Bayern.
Do you think that's what he wants to do? He wants to play more centrally than a wide position in the end, Royce?
Yes, I think that applies to a lot of players and their vanity. It's really important to be in the thick of things. But he's someone who scored a lot of goals at Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's scored and assisted a lot this season. And of course, if he's in the centre, he can score even more.
OK, let's have a look at the teams then for this match, and there's the Jens Lehmann in Champions A with Robert Pires and Freddie Ljungberg, so a bit of an Arsenal theme there. Great Ian Rush, of course, Liverpool from yesteryear, Giovanni von Bronckhorst, Karl-Heinz Riedler, Christian Karrenberg, Champions League winners in there, and then from England, Graham Lasone, Steve McManaman and Jamie Carragher, and Gianfranco Zola, who has a very big game on Monday, of course, with the playoff final here in England. And the B team, Edwin van der Sar, as we've been saying, has won the Champions League with Ajax and with Manchester United. The great Cafu in there as well. Yuri Djorkaeff, we saw a picture of him earlier. Luis Figo, Michael Laudrup, Fabio Cannavaro. Great names wherever you look, with the coaches Lars Ricken and with Paul Breitner. OK, time to join our commentary teams then, and he's going to be commentating alongside Mark Scott.
Thanks very much, Mark. Afternoon, everyone, and what a lineup we do have in store this afternoon. I have truthfully never seen a team sheet like it. UEFA Champions League, UEFA Euro and FIFA World Cup winners by the truckload, not to mention the heaps of other European and domestic medals accumulated by the stellar cast of players involved. The two coaches, as mentioned by Mark, Lars Ricken and Paul Breitner, and Andy Brassel, who's hopped alongside me. Two squads that any coach in the world would love to get their hands on.
Yes, absolutely, and they're all looking pretty good, Nick, still. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of competitiveness there.
Certainly will be. Just to let you know the format of the game, 5 aside, 25 minutes each way, with rolling substitutes, so it will be fast, furious, and plenty of fun, I'm sure. Andy, it's quite difficult to really analyse a game like this tactically, but looking at the two team sheets, any particular areas that you think the games could be won and lost? I'm just looking at the size of the goals and the fact that the two keepers take up the vast majority of them.
They are two imposing figures. Thank goodness Peter Schmeichel's not here.
Well, exactly.
But I think Cafu, as I said, is not only just still very competitive, but he's had a bit of an advantage, having played futsal a lot in his past and having a little go yesterday on this very pitch. And he was a very, very important player then.
You know, the inside track there from Andy Brassel. As I say, it will be rolling substitutes, so all of these star names on show will get the chance to show their wares in front of the crowd here. Myself and Andy will be drawing up a shortlist for the man of the match vote, which you can take part on. We will be letting you know about that a little bit later on in the game. The Champions A side, the Ultimate Champions A side, are in the blue strip, with their opponents, the Ultimate Champions B, in the red garb as well. Cafu, one of the players involved. Just look at the stellar quality on that Ultimate Champions B bench. In the centre circle for you there, Giovanni van Bronckhorst and Gianfranco Zola, who both, of course, enjoyed successful spells in England with Chelsea and Arsenal, respectively. Cafu in there as well, and good to see that there's plenty of well, I was going to say plenty of sportsmanship, but then Cafu decides to throw in some extras.
As I said, he really wants to win this. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And, you know, he was someone who was very, very fit right up until the moment when he retired, and he had to be because of the way he played. We were talking about how he reinvented the right-back position, and he covered an extraordinary amount of ground when he was playing, and, you know, he looks like he could still do so.
So off and underway, it's the Ultimate Champions B in the red strip, who bring it out from the back with Patrick Anderson, Cafu, and then Yuri Djurkaev. It's not a bad five-a-side side, isn't it? I was just thinking about if they turned up at my local gym and decided to participate. Ball floated forward. Zola's in the thick of it. It's Djurkaev. Now bringing up from the back, Serginho. Djurkaev again.
We've already seen Ramon Vega drifting forward, the former Tottenham and Switzerland international. And we always find in these sort of games, I think...
Well, the save from Lehmann there as Cafu went through. Lehmann quite happy to play it out from the back, the former Arsenal keeper. He's won the UEFA Cup before, 1997 with Schalke, so someone that's enjoyed success with a German club side on the biggest European stage. So goes for goal. Only scored one goal in his England career, but it was a cracker from long range against Brazil, I seem to remember, and fancied his chances there. So quickly in, and it's the first goal, rifled home by Giovanni van Bronckhorst, and not a bad finish there, Andy.
That trusty left foot is still doing the business, very important. And of course, he was used to scoring a few goals in his time, but as I was just about to say before we got interrupted by an attack, I think a feature of these sort of games, you find defenders who are frustrated attackers during their professional careers dying to get forward and have a little go.
Here's Djurkaev, looking for some support, finds it with Serginho. Vega's made the run, but given away, and you don't want to give the ball away to Gianfranco Zola, that's for sure. Looking for Lasso, and this time Edwin van der Sar was beaten in the top corner. So 2 goals conceded inside the first couple of minutes for van der Sar. I'm sure he's not really used to that.
Conceding goals from Graham Lasso, I don't think he is. Who'd have thought you'd be commentating on Lasso on a hat-trick after a couple of minutes, Mark?
You would have got long odds on that. So the Ultimate Champions B need to pull something out of the fire already. Djurkaev trying to create room for the swap, but Zola in the right place, although Djurkaev's off after it again. It's a very condensed playing area. Of course, it's kick-ins with it being five-a-side. Cafu. Here's Vega. And fired in towards Djurkaev, who's onto the rebound after Lehmann spilled. And Lehmann can't quite find a teammate, and the Ultimate Champions B are coming strong once again. Vega for Djurkaev, who went for the spectacular.
That's right, and a fantastic save actually in between from Jens Lehmann from Serginho. Lehmann looking very sharp early on.
Lehmann's side, 2 goals to the good, both coming from the boot of Graham Lasso. Yes, you did hear me correctly, Graham Lasso with a quick-fire double. Here's Zola for the Ultimate Champions A. Lasso, Jamie Carragher out. Lasso asking for Lehmann to come out, and I think Cafu may have just had his hand up there and getting confused with his roles. It's Lehmann who's, of course, allowed to use his mitts to get onto the ball. Vega can't quite keep it away from Lasso. Here's Gianfranco Zola. Nice little bit of juggling from him. Of course, as Mark was saying, the big UEFA Champions League final at Wembley this evening. He's got a big game on Monday, Zola, and he had a big shot on him there, which was repelled by Van der Sar.
Yeah, we've seen some great saves from both keepers so far, and yeah, Zola still looks as if he could pull on the kit and play tomorrow or Monday.
So with the tap in, Van Bronckhorst forward again. Van Bronckhorst in, Zola! Well, I thought he was going to fluff his lines there, but Zola does the business from close range, and it's the Ultimate Champions A 3, Ultimate Champions B 0.
That's right, quite a start from them. I think Gianfranco Zola, who's just coming off, we'll just wait to see who's coming on. We thought we'd missed that from
I think it was
Oliver foot out before he tapped in the rebound after it came off.
Steve McManaman is in, so is Karl-Heinz Riedler, who of course scored 2 goals in the 1997 UEFA Champions League final. Now he's trying to find the net in the Ultimate Champions match.
Unfortunately, far less chance of him scoring a couple of near-post headers in this one.
That's very true indeed. Here is Karl-Heinz Riedler. McManaman. Robert Pires. Riedler goes for goal, and it's a good block from Van der Sar, showing that he certainly lost none of his athleticism. Kept out a couple of penalties from Will Smith earlier on, which not too many goalkeepers can boast about. Djurkaev, here's a chance for Cafu, and finally the Ultimate Champions B are on the score sheet, and it's the record appearance maker for Brazil who has registered their first goal of the game.
That's right, we said he might be involved, we said he might fancy a goal, and he has done.
Carragher from the back for the A-team, I think we can start to call them that, given the current situation. Pires for McManaman. McManaman and Pires and Riedler all involved. McManaman went for the scoop, Van der Sar's out of position. Here comes Djurkaev. And Cafu forward once again. Brilliant stop from Lehmann, not for the first time in this match.
That's right, and there's a really strong ex-English Premier League flavour to the Champions A at the moment, what with Lehmann, Pires, McManaman, Karl-Heinz Riedler.
Lovely ball from Djurkaev. Cafu was in there, repelled by Lehmann, and then the post comes to the rescue of the Ultimate Champions A. Still alive. And eventually blasted wide, but Jens Lehmann is doing a top job at the moment for the Ultimate Champions A side.
He really is, but there have been some great saves from Edwin van der Sar as well, of course, from that Karl-Heinz Riedler shot just a little while ago, so there's plenty more goals in this.
Lehmann goes short. Karambou is into the fray. Like I say, it's going to be fast and furious, hard to keep up to speed with all the rolling substitutions. Pires for Karambou. Karl-Heinz Riedler almost given away into the path of Djurkaev, and Lehmann only succeeds in finding Van der Sar, whose throw is absolutely exceptional. Yuri Djurkaev now, slightly behind the intended target, and the pace is still as frenetic as it was from the word go, Andy.
That's right, and I think we could have a surprise or two coming up. Of course, we've got another ex-Premier League player, a former Arsenal man, Freddie Ljungberg, on now, but I think Lehmann could be getting more and more involved. He fancies a goal, doesn't he?
Yuri Djurkaev rolling it wide. He's already had some experience of playing in England, of course, with Bolton and Blackburn, and the weather today probably quite reminiscent of his time in the northwest of England. McManaman for Pires, 2 former English Premier League players. And here comes another massive shuffling of the pack from Paul Breitner, the coach and last season's UEFA Champions League ambassador. Pires. McManaman thought he was fouled there, but told to carry on going. And there's the imposing figure of Pierre van Hooijdonk through the centre. looking for Hooijdonk in the middle, but again, Jens Lehmann manages to keep it at bay, and he has had a stellar opening 8 minutes or so. And again, makes a top save. This time it's Simone Farina who was kept at bay.
That's right, and we've got some real UEFA Champions League winners on the pitch now, haven't we? We've just seen Giovanni Elber, who of course did it with Bayern Munich in 2001, getting involved too.
Here's Farina. Lovely ball from Elber. Well, just over the top in the end from Giovanni Elber, who Andy was just mentioning. He was a real star for Bayern München, had 6 very fruitful years there for them, won a handful of Bundesliga titles and the UEFA Champions League. And Farina, the substitute, makes a near immediate impact. And Jens Lehmann is beaten, and it's 3-2, and maybe the comeback is on.
That's right, it could be. An assist from Elber there, still looking very lean and sharp. Of course, he played in UEFA Champions League with Olympique Lyonnais as well, so really good experience there. And they're right back in it, the B team.
I think that Christian is going to join us from the Google Plus Hangout and let us know what he thinks of this Ultimate Champions match so far. Christian?
Yeah, I just think, like Andy said, Zola has to play on Monday. If Watford are going to get to the Premier League, they've got to do it with Zola.
Well, Zola's side under a bit of pressure at the moment. Thanks for that, Christian. I'll see what Andy thinks of that in a second, as Perez and Jens Lehmann, the 2 former Arsenal teammates, have a bit of fun. McManaman, Farina cuts it out. Here's Pierre van Hooijdonk. Farina again, nice skills. Was that handball from Anderson? Nothing given. In fact, I think the free kick was awarded, and we'll have a slight break in play. The ex-München star, another former UEFA Champions League winner. They are every single place you look at the moment. McManaman for Freddie Ljungberg. Karambou looking for the 1-2, nicely worked. Christian Karambou tees it up. Perez. Karambou just couldn't quite get the angle for the shot, so offloads to Perez. McManaman, the 2 former Real Madrid teammates, helped to conjure up a goal for Robert Perez. They have breathing space once again, and as it turns into a 4-2 advantage, Paul joins us on the Google Plus Hangout rather, to let us know what he's making of affairs so far.
Yeah, it's been exciting, hasn't it? As much as I'm loath to say, I think Graham Lasso started absolutely outstandingly. I don't recall him having those skills in his locker during his playing days, so no, definitely an interesting one to see.
Yeah, that's right. A really great start from him. I was just momentarily distracted by the sight of Pierre van Hooijdonk getting the ball. We all know what a shot he's got on him, so even when he gets it in his own half in a pitch like this, you think it could be on.
Farina going through the centre, just out of shot at the moment, as Steve McManaman fields some questions from the floor and catches his breath, although he doesn't look too out of breath. Graham Lasso certainly looks pretty relaxed. Here's Karambou. And still, Ljungberg for Karambou once again. Oh, the referee inadvertently plays a part, which allows Anderson to pick up possession. Here's Giovanni Elber for Van Hooijdonk. Angles against him, but he tees it up instead for Anderson. And once more, Jens Lehmann is a man mountain to keep out the UEFA Ultimate Champions B side.
Well, I think that's to be expected. Patrick Anderson prefers his goals a lot later than this, of course, with that title-winning goal in the 94th minute
against Hamburg.
That's right, back in the day to snatch the title from Schalke 04. So yeah, not his time just yet.
Here's Perez, who's looked lean, mean, and very much a fighting machine, and that effort from the far side wasn't too far away either. So we're midway through the first half. Remember, 25 minutes each way, and we've already had 6 goals. It'll be some UEFA Champions League final if we have that sort of return at Wembley later. Elber for Farina, loft on the cross and just a bit too much. Van Hooijdonk keeps it alive. Perez. Well, Van der Sar playing as a sweeper, and he's content to keep on going. It's Edwin van der Sar. Couldn't quite convert Pierre van Hooijdonk, and now Lehmann's getting in on the act, and it's almost like rush keeper time. Lehmann's still going. Here's Bronckhorst, not a bad ball. Lehmann's still up there. Now, could be in trouble. Lehmann for Perez, the 2 former Arsenal boys combined. Ljungberg's in there as well, another ex-gunner, and so's Johan Bronkhorst. Well, that was almost an Arsenal all-star goal there.
I suppose for Van der Sar, it's the ultimate expression of total football when your goalkeeper starts playing at centre forward.
Here's Pires now for the A team. Still going for Van Bronckhorst, and Van der Sar makes the easy claim. Touch forward for Van Hooijdonk, angles against him, but we know he's got some shot on him. Didn't quite find the angle he was looking for there, Pierre Van Hooijdonk. He was a 2002 UEFA Cup winner with Feyenoord, played for Nottingham Forest when he was in England, of course. Pires, Ljungberg, well cut out by Van der Sar, with Karambeu lurking at the far post. Farina. Well, Andy, what do you make of the game so far? Not really any specific pattern to it, especially with the fact we've seen Van der Sar and Lehmann come flying out of goal.
That has been the pattern to it. Lots of great former players showing all their skills, no matter where they're from on the pitch. But there have been some outstanding performers so far. It was great to see Cafu start the game so strongly. Patrick Anderson's got involved, of course, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but Robert Pires, for me, has looked very, very good so far.
Well, all of a sudden, they're playing their own total football, the A team. Ljungberg just about kept it in. Van Hooijdonk's across there. It's Van Bronckhorst. Lovely pass in towards Pires. Good save, Van der Sar. And again, well, those penalty saves from Will Smith earlier on, just the warm-up for the former Manchester United man.
Well, that's right. You said he's saved a couple of Will Smith penalties, which not a lot of many people have done. Well, I don't think a lot of goalkeepers have saved a Robert Pires header, and now he's done that too.
Well, it's Edwin van der Sar who's the man in black rather than Will Smith at the moment, as his all-black kit helps him repel the A side, but Pires forward once again. Here's Van Bronckhorst. Oh, a nutmeg to tee up Pires. Lovely goal, and that might be the pick of the bunch so far.
Oh, I think so. Just getting a rueful handshake and a little hug there from Edwin van der Sar. But yeah, Pires has been outstanding since he's come on.
Well, of course, he's from the Champagne region of Reims in northeastern France, and that was some Champagne football from the A side. So it's 5-2 to the Ultimate Champions A, and then there's an unfortunate slip from Michael Laudrup, who, with Wembley on the horizon for Bayern München, and Borussia Dortmund has, of course, won the European Champion Clubs Cup with Barcelona there, and picked up the English League Cup with Swansea as a coach earlier this season.
That's right. I think, Mark, a lot of people very, very excited down here to see Michael Laudrup playing today. Quite a few in the crowd who I spoke to, very, very keen to have a look at him.
So down the line, it's teed up, well, almost teed up. Farina's able to cut out the danger. So I think we've got somebody we can speak to in the Google Plus Hangout, and the latest person to join us is Jim. Jim, what do you make of it so far? Well, I don't think Jim is quite there at the moment. We will try to hook up with him in the Google Plus Hangout again very shortly. It's Van Bronckhorst. Oh, and all of a sudden, I think Paul Breitner was getting involved from off the touchline there. Not quite sure whether he was trying to get the ball back in play or if he was trying something untoward. Anyway, I think Jim can join us from the Google Plus Hangout now. Jim, you enjoying the game so far? Well, having problems getting hold of Jim. Maybe he's just so excited about the match at the moment he's not able to get his words out. Here's Zola scrapping for it in the centre, and still Gianfranco Zola not too far away from the current Watford manager, who has a big day at Wembley on Monday, of course, in the game against Crystal Palace for a place in the Premier League. Here, coming out from the back, is Michael Laudrup. Now the run from the far side sees Figo, the famous product from the Sporting Clube de Portugal Academy, and a man who's toasted a lot of success in the UEFA Champions League. I just can't believe this stellar cast of players at time. One huge name replaced by another. Here is Luis Figo. Figo for Laudrup, lovely pass, and I saw a video the other day of his pass completion when he was plying his trade for his unbelievable roll call of sides that he's had over the years, and, well, poetry in motion. That wasn't a bad pass there from him either.
Well, that would have been some goal as well, to Mijatovic for the finish. Of course, the scorer of the winning goal in the 1998 final.
Indeed. Done your homework. Here goes Zola, looking for Van Bronckhorst. Oh, and it's in. Pires again involved. And Karl-Heinz Riedler finishing it off. And Well, they are running amok when they start to cut through the back, and Karl-Heinz Riedler, who was a very lethal finisher during his professional days, seeing it past a competitor from the Low Countries as well there.
Perhaps a good omen for Dortmund, having scored twice in the 1997 final.
Of course, of course. Here's Zola. Jens Lehmann, who's not had a great deal to do in the last few minutes after he did have a flurry of attacks to deal with earlier on. Not coming out of goal at the moment. It's straight down the throat of Figo, who's still going. Laudrup. Oh, lovely stuff from Laudrup, and there is the silky skills that make him still a favourite in training with Swansea, despite the fact that he is their coach rather than their player.
I'm not really sure he's that much of a favourite of the players. He might give them a bit of a complex.
Here's Karl-Heinz Riedler. So 6-3 now to the Ultimate Champions A side, with just a shade over 6 minutes of the first 25-minute half to play. Mijatovic can only find the gloves of Lehmann. Jens Lehmann, who, along with Pires and Freddie Ljungberg, was a UEFA Champions League runner-up with Arsenal when Giovanni van Bronckhorst's Barcelona beat them in the Paris final. Jamie Carragher on the ball. He's another man who's had memorable nights in Europe, of course. The Miracle of Istanbul, one that springs to mind with Liverpool. And Bronckhorst, good save. Van der Sar comes out as far as Carragher, who hit the post for Liverpool in his final game as a full-time professional, and fancied his chances from there before it just rebounded away. Mijatovic. Here
on
is
Fabio Cannavaro at last as well.
Indeed, indeed.
There he goes, down the left wing.
Lehmann out quickly to repel him. Fabio Cannavaro, who, of course, is one of the all-time greats and picked up so many honours in his time with the Italy national side, buccaneering down that flank, but this time it's Mijatovic who goes for goal, and Lehmann clears with his feet. Gianfranco Zola closed down by Michael Laudrup. I won't get tired of those sort of sentences. Zola to the far side, Pires, not quite. Cannavaro doing what he does best. But he's given it away, and here's Pires away from Van der Sar, and Zola and Pires. Lovely. Absolutely gorgeous goal. And that will give us a chance to hopefully go across to our Google Plus Hangout and hear from Joel and what he thinks with 20 minutes gone in this Ultimate Champion showdown.
Well, I still feel I have to echo what Chris said earlier. The player-manager role has died in recent years, and perhaps that's a shame given the quality on display with players like Zola and Laudrup.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. Luis Figo as well, looking very trim. You wonder what Cannavaro might do next. He's certainly getting involved right from the off.
Fetching handbag, rather hairband from Luis Figo as well. If he was playing with a handbag, then there might have been a steward's inquiry into that. It's Jens Lehmann to Pires, who floats it, looking for Carragher! Well, that would have been something. Edwin van der Sar flying out a goal, and Jamie Carragher scoring with a header. Not quite, though. Van der Sar now fancies a run once more. Cut out by Pires. Well, he was going for the Beckham, but just bent it and flighted it a little too much, and we need another ball.
Pires just saying that it wasn't that far away. I think perhaps he did protest too much.
Good save from Lehmann as Mijatovic let fly from long range. The former UEFA Champions League winner, who, as Andy said, does have a knack of scoring some big goals. This time it was Van Hooijdonk who was involved, as well as Fabio Cannavaro. It's Lehmann who'll bowl it out. Lehmann, McManaman, give it away. Mijatovic looking for Laudrup. Can he finish it off? Karambou closes him down and does just about enough. Figo to Laudrup again, and it's off the line from Robert Pires. I'm not sure that in his Arsenal days we'd see him track back quite as much as that, but he was able to prevent the danger and tee up Ljungberg, and the two Arsenal old boys combined to good effect, and it's now 8-3 to the A-team.
That's right. I think that'll make Arsenal fans a little bit wistful, especially with so many ex-Real Madrid players on the pitch for the B team at the moment.
It's going to be Freddie Ljungberg with perhaps the last attack of the game. Pires for McManaman, who's back into the fray. Pires, Laudrup in the right place to cut that out. Looking for support, Cannavaro in towards Laudrup. McManaman able to divert the danger. This is Christine Karambou. Has a go! And Van der Sar makes the decent save at the near post. Karambou again, but Van der Sar thinks that the ball had already gone out of play, so that will not count. There is Figo with the fetching headband as well. In towards Figo. And the two former Real Madrid men, McManaman and Figo, involved in a tussle.
That's right, and we've still got Robert Pires for the A-team in the libero position. I think that's the official breather position, where Gianfranco Zola was for a while before.
Laudrup with three around him, tees up Cannavaro! Lehmann with the clutch. Jens Lehmann has had a stormer in the first half, and he could certainly be one of the players that are in the mix for our shortlist for the Man of the Match vote, which we will be giving you the details of how to pitch for very shortly. Lehmann certainly one of those that will be in the frame. Anyone else, Andy, that you would say so far has caught your eye as a potential man of the match?
Well, I think Robert Pires. I'm still quite taken with the idea of Michael Laudrup simply being on the pitch, whether he touches it or not. There are just so many to choose from, and Karambou's got more and more involved too.
Karambou for Pires, Karambou surely for Steve McManaman, well saved Van der Sar, and Cannavaro, as we said before, doing what he does best. Right place, right time to clear the danger. Pires, McManaman, Ljungberg, Pires, beautiful move. Van der Sar just crashes it clear. Lehmann.
That's what you call a high-pressing game.
Playing a high line. It's McManaman, Pires, Freddie Ljungberg, and back to Ljungberg again. Laudrup with his defensive duties done well, forcing it back to Pires into stoppage time. McManaman, Pires, and the referee says that will do. Well, quite a half, plenty of goals, plenty of action, plenty of fun. The half-time scoreline is Ultimate Champions A, Ultimate Champions B 3.
Thank you very much, gents. Second half to come. Let's have a look at those first half highlights. Well, I think, Andy, what is it? Robert Pires, man of the first half, probably wasn't running the game there.
Oh, undoubtedly. I think he's maybe got a couple of scouts watching. Perhaps that's buoyed him.
once a late comeback. OK, let's go to then another hangout. Right then, let's see what you, wherever you are in the world, make of that first half. Joel is going to join us. Joel, who was your outstanding player in that first half?
I've got to be biased and say Bobby Pires. Give some Arsenal players. At times it's been the Arsenal show. The keepers, perhaps not so much. They've retained their athletic abilities, but maybe not their positional sense for points in this first half. But it's been very exciting so far.
All right, Joel, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to the next one, and Jim, and then we'll get the thoughts of Andy in a second, but let's rattle through a few. Jim, who's taken your eye in that first half?
Well, I've made the prediction to start with, and I have to say Jens Lehmann. He's clearly trying to score a goal, which is just brilliant. I know he got a couple of goals for Schalke, which just seemed crazy, but it's just brilliant to see him having fun. Van der Sar, deserves credit there as well. But yeah, I agree with Joel. It's been brilliant seeing Pires, Lindberg, Lehmann back together again.
You used the word, it's a very good word. A lot of wistful Arsenal fans, aren't there, watching particularly Pires.
I think we've just spoken to a couple, haven't we?
I think there might be a little tear in their eye as well, isn't it? What a decade on from their great team. But the goalkeepers is different, isn't it, in the sense that they retire that much later. So, of course, they've only just stopped playing, really, the two of them.
Yes, that's right, and they were two of the absolute best, but I think they're both keen to embrace the high pressing that maybe Dortmund and Bayern will both be playing later.
Yep, they all want to get up with the modern techniques. Of course, Christian's next. Christian, who for you has been the star of that first half?
I think we have to give special mention to Pierre van Hooijdonk. Seeing him pass to teammates shows that even the oldest of dogs can learn new tricks.
Thank you, Christian. Well, he always knew where the goal was, that's for sure. Paul, what about you, that first 25 minutes or so? Who stood out for you?
Well, to be honest, I was devastated to see Jamie Carragher come so close, but not quite.
Well, just like on his last appearance, of course, for Liverpool the other day against QPR at Anfield, when he hit one into the crossbar as well. I'm like you, though. I'm watching the game and I'm watching Lauder. I'm thinking, someone please give Michael Lauder the ball. One of the most outstanding European players of the last 30 years. Somebody give him the ball and give him a chance.
Absolutely. That's the problem with a team with so many star players. I want to see Van Hooijdonk have a shot. I want to see Cannavaro make another tackle.
Yeah. Are we saying there aren't enough water carriers out there, Andy? Is that what it is?
Perhaps. Someone get on the phone to Didier Deschamps.
Yeah, Didier Deschamps is the man, of course. Have we got anybody else there as well? Or are we done for the Hangout? No, we're just done for the Hangout for a second. We'll have another one a little bit later on. Yep, actually, the A-team are absolutely cruising this, aren't they? What is it, 8-3 at the moment?
Yes, that's right. And I think it's because they've got Robert Pires. He just came onto the pitch for maybe 15 minutes in the middle and made a huge difference. I think he's one of those in five-a-side who pretends he's deaf when you want to bring him off.
Absolutely. OK, then, that is the end of this particular Hangout. Right, somebody who played for England, of course, and scored a stunning goal in the Champions League final, 13 years ago now. Here he is with Nigel Adderley.
Steve, you enjoying the game?
Yeah, it's been good, actually. It's great to, as you can imagine, it's great to catch up with some of the lads I haven't seen for a while.
And looking ahead to tonight, two German sides, two very well-drilled teams, it looks like it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, well, it should be, even though Bayern have been very dominant in the Bundesliga this year, and as you said, they're 23 points clear. I still think it should be close. It's a final, it's at Wembley. They played recently and it was a very impetuous 1-1 draw, I think, so it should be quite close.
And as somebody who's won this competition, how different is the final to any other game you played that season?
Listen, it's incredibly different. Bayern have been here before. They were in the final last year, they were in the final the year before. Dortmund have got a very young, inexperienced squad. It's how are they going to handle a big occasion? We know Bayern can do it. And they've, as I said before, they've been on the losing end a couple of times, so they'll want to rectify that tonight.
And how did you persuade Jamie Carragher to come out of retirement?
He's a superstar, isn't he? He just wants to play football all the time, and it's great to see him. He's a Champions League winner himself, and he's rightly here with the other legends.
Well, enjoy tonight. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Steve McManaman, of course, scored a brilliant goal in a Champions League final for Real Madrid, but a former Liverpool star. And here is a man, a real star of Liverpool, who knows what it takes to win this trophy, the great Ian Rush. Thank you very much for joining us here. Let's talk about tonight. So well matched, these two German teams. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very difficult game. I think both teams know each other well, and Bayern Munich will be favourites. But I think that when they've drawn twice in the league and Bayern have beaten them in the cup, so I think it's going to be a very difficult game. But I think Bayern Munich, with the experience, might come out on top.
The experience, but also the pressure in as well, isn't it? Because they've come so close in the last 3 years, losing 2 of those finals. You just wonder, you know far better than we do, what pressure can do on these big match atmospheres.
Well, I think they may have learned from last season. No, they played at the home stadium. No, they expect them to beat Chelsea. They didn't beat Chelsea, so I think they will learn from that. And they come to a neutral stadium now, Wembley, and I think they will learn from that. I think they'll go into better things.
Yeah, first goal's always crucial, but you get the feeling tonight even more so, don't you?
Yeah, very much so, because both teams in the same Bundesliga. You know, they've had a great season in the Bundesliga, but again, I think whoever scores the first goal will be trying to shut up shop then.
Yeah. Jurgen Klopp, do you like the cut of his jib? He seems an exceptionally good coach, but also a thoroughly entertaining character.
Well, that's what football's all about. You know, it's come here, you know, the Champions League final. It's all about entertaining, and he's an entertainer, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, German football, the forefront then, isn't it, at the moment? Do you think, I mean, obviously we're speaking to everybody from London, we in this country, but maybe a lot of Europe can learn from what the Germans are doing at the moment?
Without a doubt. I think you look, obviously, the money's in the English Premier League, but again, you look when you're looking for team spirit and work, fight, and effort and everything, and look at the Bundesliga, and I think we can all learn from them, yes.
Andy, you're the expert with matters European. What can we all learn from Germany, do you think, the rest of Europe?
Well, I think it's about developing young players, and of course that's something that Liverpool was so good at when they were successful with Ian in the team. And you know, it's about learning new things from all over Europe. You know, they've taken those traditional German qualities that Ian was talking about, like the physical power, like the fighting spirit, and they've added a bit more Mediterranean technicality to it as well.
Yeah, Ian, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the match tonight. Thank you very much indeed. That's the great Ian Rush who's with us. Andy is going to rejoin Mark Scott as the second half is just underway.
Just back underway. Thanks very much, Mark, with the Ultimate Champions A in the lead. The team in blue, they lead by 8 goals to 3 against the Ultimate Champions B, who are in the red strip and aiming to come from behind. The two teams, of course, have swapped ends, so it's Karambeu coming from right to left. Now Jamie Carragher looking for Karl-Heinz Riedler. Carragher closed down, but manages to offload to Karambeu, who's still going. Caught in possession. Djorkaeff. And now Farina, and it's turned by Cafu, who's gobbled up a goal inside the first minutes of the second half to pull one back for the Ultimate Champions B. It's now 8-4.
Quite a sprint to the front there from Cafu. That was what he was so good at as a player. And of course, winning the UEFA Champions League in 2007 with AC Milan.
Cafu, who is Brazil's most capped footballer of all time, 142 appearances, and here's one for you trivia-wise. He's the only player to have featured in 3 World Cup finals.
Wow, that's something.
So the Ultimate Champions B starting the second half strongly. Djorkaeff now has pulled another back, and it's 8-5, and whatever the half-time team talk from last season's UEFA Champions League ambassador Paul Breitner was, it's certainly done the trick.
Well, he was certainly keen to get involved in the first half when he wandered on the pitch, so he was very keen to get that team talk started pretty early.
Here is the buccaneering figure of Van Bronckhorst. Pires and Van der Sar, I don't think knew where it had gone, but still manages to repel the danger, and it's a corner for the A side that comes to nothing. Cafu, it's an ambitious pass looking for the run of Farina. Lehmann deals with it. Carragher now. He hit the post for Liverpool against Queen's Park Rangers on Sunday. Thought he was going to chance his arm there. It's Karambeu instead, left by Pires for the hit from Van Bronckhorst. Well saved by Van der Sar. Cafu, Farina, and it just rolls out of play. Well, 2.5 minutes gone in the second half, and the Ultimate Champions B launching a spirited comeback. Here's Karambeu, Pires, Carragher. Closed down by Cafu, looks for Van Bronckhorst. Van der Sar's in no man's land. Farina forward, that's a good pass to pick out Yuri Djorkaeff. And now Farina again. Djorkaeff trying to make a nuisance of himself, and Carragher saw him away. Cafu, well, I don't think that was in his favourite repertoire, but he'll get a second bite of the cherry. Farina closed down by Pires, Djorkaeff, and now Pires with a chance to stretch his legs. 2 Frenchmen going toe-to-toe. One thing, Andy, that I'd say in this particular match is you see players as Djorkaeff and is beaten by Pires, and Pires extends the advantage to 9-5 for the A team. But you see a lot of players involved in this game chasing back defensively, whereas in their professional 11-a-side career, didn't really do that so often.
It's almost as if the pitch is smaller, Mark.
Well, voting has now started, by the way, for the man of the match. You can visit the UEFA.com Google Plus page to register your vote. We narrowed it down to a short list of 5 during half-time. Jens Lehmann, Robert Pires, Gianfranco Zola, Edwin van der Sar and Michael Laudrup are the players that you can choose from. So head to the UEFA.com Google Plus page to register your vote from amongst that 5. Early signs, Andy, in your mind, who would you go for out of that one?
Well, it has to be Pires so far, though I agree with Jim from the Google Plus Hangout that Jens Lehmann certainly making a case, and he's out there again.
Okay, Van Bronckhorst over the top. Oh, it's over Lehmann and all the way in. Well, that was not in the coaching manual, and the 2 former Arsenal men, combining there in the worst possible way, really. And it was a death lob, but not one he was looking for, and the deficit is closed to 9-6.
And not a grin you would have seen on Jens Lehmann's face back in the day, I think.
Yes, he was a fiery character, shall we say. Here's Ljungberg. Zola for Pires, here's Ljungberg, and it's behind. Well, I think that we can catch up with another person that's contacting us via the Google Plus Hangout. Kristen is going to let us know his thoughts on the early stages of the second half.
Yeah, I think we're going to see who are the fittest chaps here as we get further along, because obviously some of these guys will be doing fitness work. Some of them, I think, will have sorely underestimated how tiring 5-a-side can be.
It's an interesting point, but someone who will keep going is Cafu on the attack there again, laying it off to Yuri Djurkaeff.
So, what have the ultimate champions A got in their locker as they try to extend their advantage? Pires still going. Ljungberg in support. Pires with the ball glued to his foot at times. Is Serginho for the ultimate champions B. Cafu had made the overlapping run, the trademark galloping burst down the flank that he was so famous for.
That was quite a Milan.
Zola! Oh, yes! Gianfranco Zola with an absolute beauty, and maybe Watford fans will be wishing that he is turning out on the pitch for them at Wembley on Monday against Crystal Palace.
I might get him a few extra votes for man of the match on the Google Plus page, I think. What a dummy that was. Quite reminiscent of his goal for Chelsea in the 1997 FA Cup semi-final against Wimbledon.
So a short list of 5 for the man of the match that Gianfranco Zola is among. Lehmann, Pires, van der Sar and Laudrup, the other contenders on that 5-man shortlist. And remember that voting has started. Let us know who you think should take that honour. Visit the UEFA.com Google Plus page to register your vote. Still plenty of time for those candidates to impress, of course, with only 7 minutes gone in the second 25-minute instalment, and that was a pretty decent instalment from distance as well, as Djurkaeff finds the net. Lehmann beaten by the Frenchman, and it's 10-7 now.
Yes, it's closer and closer, and of course Lehmann made a fantastic save just a couple of seconds before that from a real good hit from Fariner. So yeah, the beating coming back into this.
Well, just a hold up in play as the Giovanni Elber and co get to come onto the pitch, and in the meantime there was a bit of a private game of keepy-uppy going on between Zola, Pires, Van Bronckhorst and Ljungberg, and well, I'd feel a bit intimidated if I was involved in keepy-uppy with them, and quite a few of those players, of course, had some glorious times at Arsenal, and we've got a Gunners fan, Jim, joining us on the Google Plus Hangout now. What did you make of some of those former Gunners stars of a bygone era playing their wares today? Well, Jim, unable to join us for now, but we will get back in touch with him via our Google Plus Hangout to see what he thinks of the likes of Pires and Ljungberg and Lehmann turning out in force today. Cafu, in the meantime, looking for Elber. Zola miscontrolled, and Cafu repelled by a decent block from Jens Lehmann. And Lehmann furthering his cause to be voted man of the match. Cafu goes for goal and finds it this time. Quite a hit from Cafu, who certainly seems to be in the mood to get forward rather than defend today, Andy.
Absolutely, and I think he's feeling a nice sense of balance, him on the right, Serginho on the left, as they did so often for Milan, of course, back in the first part of the 21st century.
Zola for Ljungberg. 10-8 now, 2 goals between them. That's the closest it's been for a while. Zola. Pires for Ljungberg, slightly behind Pires. Zola with plenty of time. Pires, who always looks like he's got time on the ball. McManaman lets it get away from him, and Cafu, who's playing like a centre-forward, is in again here. Lehmann's out to dispossess. Elbert, Anderson for Van Hooijdonk. Deflected by Zola. And here goes Zola, looking for Pires. Well kept out by Van der Sar, although I think that the decision has gone against the Dutchman, so it's a free kick right on the edge of the area, which is actually closer in than a penalty would be in an 11-a-side game. But here is Elbert for the Ultimate Champions B. Floated pass, cut out by Lehmann. And it's the A side looking to extend their advantage. Pires. Van der Sar once again blocks well. Pires has been all over the game from the word go, really. McManaman involved as well. Van Hooijdonk comes forward. It's just slightly behind the run of Vega. Zola. Pires. And it's there. And it's another for the Ultimate Champions A, who extend their advantage. And Pires once more involved in that move.
Yeah, I think Giovanni Elber ended up putting that in his own net. Bit of a rueful smile and a thumbs up from the former Bayern striker.
Well, that's one own goal apiece now. And Pires, again, a strong candidate to win the man of the match. Remember, your votes at the UEFA.com Google Plus page to register your vote. We can catch up with an Arsenal fan now. Joel is going to join us from the Google Plus Hangout. What do you make of how the former Gunners star Pires is playing today?
Fantastic so far. He'd be my man of the match. In these arguably stagnating times for Arsenal, maybe the likes of Bobby Pires, Freddie Ljungberg and Jens Lehmann could make a playing return.
I'll see what Andy Brassel thinks about that. Ljungberg, Pires and co urged to make a playing return as Karambeu extends the A-team's advantage to 4 goals once again. But just that quick point by Joel about seeing the likes of Pires and Ljungberg returning to the setup under Arsene Wenger.
Well, it's not just those two, of course. Another former gunner, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, looking very lean there and laying on that ball from Christian Karambeu. He's been excellent.
Here's Vega, who, of course, plied his trade for the other North London giant, Tottenham Hotspur. Anderson for Van Hooijdonk, played in England with Nottingham Forest. Anderson, Vega through the centre, held up by Karambeu. Elbert was in there. It's Vega, Elbert. And suddenly McManaman surges away. It's Steve McManaman. Van Bronckhorst unable to make the most of it, and Van Hooijdonk did well in getting back to avert the danger. And that's what I mean, Andy. We've got Pierre Van Hooijdonk, who is a hitman, getting back and doing the dirty work defensively.
Yes, he really is. He really is.
Bringing out the best in both sets of players, with halfway through the second half now of this Ultimate Champions match. It's Lehmann for Carragher. McManaman, Van Bronckhorst. Lovely pass looking for Carragher on the far side, and well, the delivery was delicious, but Carragher just couldn't quite keep it in.
Yes, and his fellow defender right next to him, Ramon Vega, was looking very, very worried for a minute there, but Carragher couldn't control.
Here's Anderson. Now it's Van Hooijdonk. Oh, and Vega surely tipped clear by Lehmann. Super save from the German there to deny Vega, but corner straight away. Van Hooijdonk, who can hit them. Vega, Van Hooijdonk again. Elbert, well, the Ultimate Champions B, happy to play it out from the back, but they've got 4 goals to make up and only a shade over 10 minutes in which to do it.
That's right, that's why Edwin van der Sar's joining the attack here.
Here's Anderson for Van der Sar. Vega, well, trying to beat his way past Steve McManaman, the UEFA Champions League final ambassador this season. Van Bronckhorst, who's still going. Unselfish play, but in the end unsuccessful play as well.
That's right, he was stifling the urge to have a shot there, and I bet he wishes he hasn't now.
Karambeu. Van Hooijdonk brings it clear. Here's Giovanni Elbert trying to search out Vega. Good effort, and not far away. Well, that would have been one of the best finishes of the game so far from Ramon Vega, but not quite enough curl to see it nestle in the back of the net.
Oh, that would have been fantastic. Beautiful technique with the outside of the right foot there, but it looks as if it's taken out of him a little.
Here is Farina. Oh, not a bad effort! And it's slipped past Jens Lehmann, and we're back to within a 3-goal game, and I just wonder, Andy, if penalties could be on the horizon.
But perhaps. I think there are a lot of people who'd like to see a full 120 minutes from the game tonight, because they're expecting such a mouth-watering prospect. So
Manaman and Carragher combined, and the two former Liverpool men enjoy a link-up that leads to another goal for the A side. And Carragher says straight away, I want to come off.
That's right, I've had my goal, I'm going to have a little rest.
Now, as I said earlier, he hit the post for Liverpool against Queen's Park Rangers in the Premier League at the weekend, found the net there, and on the back of that goal, let's see what Paul made of the slick interplay between Carragher and McManaman, who's joining us from the Google Plus Hangout. Paul?
Well, Jamie Carragher's got this reputation of being, well, maybe lacking a little bit in skill, but I think a lot of people forget that when he was like 13 or 14, the man was prolific at junior level. So now, not often to see, but definitely no great surprise to see the silky skills from the man.
That's right, just after he got in the first team at Liverpool as a youngster, I remember him getting a couple of goals at Aston Villa. Not many followed as he undertook other duties, but he certainly can finish given the opportunity.
Laudrup, meanwhile, is on, and so is Luis Figo. Still can't get my head around the amount of star names that are turning out in this game. When you've got the likes of Laudrup and Figo to bring off the bench, then you know that he must be doing something right. Karl-Heinz Riedler's on as well. This is Laudrup. Farina! Well, that was a glorious opportunity that the Ultimate Champions B team can't really afford to miss, with the deficit being 4 goals again and us into the final 9 or so minutes of normal time. McManaman, Riedler. This is Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who's been in amongst the goals this afternoon. Karambeu. Van Bronckhorst again. Well, I don't want to say it in a 5-a-side game, but are the A side just playing possession football now? They're going to take it down to the corner at some stage.
If there was a flag, they'd be right next to him.
Here's a chance for the B team. Figo, Farina, goal. Both teams into double figures now, and Luis Figo showing that he's still got all that sense of awareness and finesse to tee up the chance for Simone Farina.
That's right, and Farina's been fantastic as the game's really progressed, getting up close and personal with the crowd, touching that in from a narrow angle and not being able to stop himself from banging into the general public. But I think they were delighted to get a closer glimpse at it.
Ljungberg for Perez. Farina makes the challenge. Karambeu. Ljungberg. Van Bronckhorst for Ljungberg again. Try to create the angle for the shot. Offloads for Perez. Karambeu. Good closing down from the men in red. Karambeu. And, oh, tickled home by Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Well, I'm sure that was intentional, and it was a top draw finish as well.
It really was. I'm not completely sharing your faith that it was intentional.
Well, actually, his somewhat muted celebration suggests that he's a little bit sheepish about that goal, but they all count, and Edwin van der Sar breached for the 14th time this afternoon, and I don't think anybody, in fact, I'm sure that nobody will have ever said that in a match before.
No, that's right, and probably never will again.
Here's Laudrup. Plenty of time on the ball. In towards Figo. Given away, and here goes Ljungberg. It's still Freddie Ljungberg. Van Bronckhorst. Ljungberg trying to pick the lock of the B team's backline. Perez. Lehmann. Possession stuff from the boys in blue. Ljungberg, lovely turn. Thought about the shot, but opts to go to Van Bronckhorst instead. Perez, beautiful stuff from the trio of ex-Arsenal men at the moment. Pires down the line and eventually drifts out of play into the final 6 minutes, and the Ultimate Champions B team need 4 goals to take this into, well, not quite sure what they're going to do if it ends up 14-all at the end, whether we'll have penalties or perhaps some other fun way of finishing off the game.
Maybe Will and Jaden will come back on to decide it.
And we'll end up with a sing-off. So, here's Figo, just returning it to Ljungberg. Freddie Ljungberg for Pires. Lehmann coming forward in the right-back area. Van Bronckhorst, rather. Lehmann. This is dangerous. He's got away with it, though. Mariner. Lehmann out of position. Danger here. Gets back. Mariner for Figo. Goal. Well, Jens Lehmann pays the price for his buccaneering run forward. And despite some desperate defensive work, it is only a 3-goal margin now.
For a minute there, I thought Robert Pires was going to excel at the other end of the pitch. It's about the only position he hadn't played, but he settled onto the goal line to try and stop that shot from Figo unsuccessfully, but he hit it so well. Still
has been a virtuoso performance from Pires, who is in the shake-up for the Man of the Match award, alongside Lehmann, Zola, Van der Sar and Laudrup. They're the shortlist of 5 voting for that Man of the Match award on the Google Plus page on UEFA.com, so that's where you need to head to register your vote. Here's Laudrup, lovely pass for Fariner, away from Lehmann. Now, did he bring him down? Lehmann immediately retreats from the referee. The decision is given. Thankfully for him, it wasn't in the area. Jens Lehmann, of course, not too happy memories of the 2006 UEFA Champions League final. And Fariner was shackled unfairly, and it's in. Well, quickly taken, too quickly for Lehmann to react to, and 2 goals needed to be made up in the final 4 minutes or so. Michael Laudrup's introduction from the bench seems to have worked a treat. Ljungberg, I think the Ultimate Champions A know that 1 more goal for them would probably seal the game. Instead, though, Cannavaro can bring it clear. Lehmann, Van Bronckhorst, who's probably played just as many minutes as anyone else on the pitch. Pires, Zola, not quite. Pires is there, but can't finish it off.
We're so used to him making the decisive contribution this afternoon. Quite a shock to see that go over. But it's pretty close now, and 1 more goal to the B team, that could make it a really exciting end.
Ljungberg for Pires. Well, are they going to start just spraying it around and playing keep ball? I really would love to see if someone from the A side takes it down to the corner and just tries to keep it down there. Ljungberg for Zola. This is Pires. Still Robert Pires. Shackled well by Luis Figo. Ljungberg. Freddie Ljungberg. Closed down by a host of players, but he still wriggles clear and teed up Zola, who was kept at bay by Van der Sar.
Oh, what a slalom by Freddie Ljungberg. We talk about ex-Arsenal players rolling back the years this afternoon. That was one of the very best moments.
Rolled away from 3 men in red shirts. Here's Laudrup, can't quite get away from Van Bronckhorst. This could seal it. Van der Sar with an important touch. Fariner clear. Here's Figo. Can the B team hit on the counter? Figo, Laudrup, Fariner, back to a 1-goal game.
That's right, and we said it could be close if they got another one. It's going to be a really, really exciting last 2 minutes, and of course, there'll probably be a bit of stoppage as well.
Pires will get the game restarted. All eyes will be on the 4th official, if we've got one knocking around somewhere, to see if the board's going to come up. Ljungberg for Zola. Pires. Do they stick or twist the A-team? 1-goal advantage. They know another would seal the game. Zola's still going, never one to sit back. Van Bronckhorst off after it. Van der Sar with the anticipation and interception.
Am I allowed to say the A-team will be quite happy with it in that half?
I think you can just about get away with it. Van der Sar with another good save. 90 seconds of the 50 minutes to go, and Pires manages to steer it home. Van der Sar frustrated, and the A-team now with that 2-goal cushion again, and that might just do it.
And that would be a fitting way to finish it off from Robert Pires.
Pires, though, has been dispossessed by Figo. Lehmann forward. Van der Sar out. Crowd urging him to shoot. Van der Sar decides to find Figo instead. Figo, Van der Sar, oh, and Pires is there, off the line, and surely that will seal his place as the favourite to win the Man of the Match award. Or in fact, Pires has been penalised, and I think there was a handball, and he's been dismissed, so Pires is off. And there's a penalty for the Ultimate Champions B side to get themselves back into the thick of it. Well, Pires' afternoon ends in disappointment. Jens Lehmann, who's been a penalty shootout hero, of course, for both Internazionale and the German side, is again! Lehmann shows his top ability to keep out efforts from the spots, and that is full-time, and it's victory for the Ultimate Champions A after a very, very enjoyable 50-minute encounter. It was Lehmann who made the save at the end, and the full-time score is the Ultimate Champions A 15, the Ultimate Champions B 13. And we can go back to Mark.
Terrific finish. Robert Pires was the star throughout, wasn't it? And ended with him giving away that penalty and being dismissed rather light-heartedly. A 15-13, the full-time score as everybody shake hands. The sun even came out here in East London as well, and thoroughly enjoyed by this healthy crowd here in the shadow of the Olympic Stadium. Okay, let's enjoy the second half highlights. (15-13) the final score to UEFA Champions League Team A. Andy's rejoined me. I think Jens Lehmann, like all goalkeepers, Andy, actually just show they're frustrated centre forwards, aren't they? He didn't really want to stay in goal throughout the game.
That's right. I don't think it was just him. It was Edwin van der Sar too. But I guess I'm just a little more surprised I didn't see him do that during his career.
Yeah, absolutely desperate to get up the field. Robert Pires, we talked about it at half-time, but really he was... We don't want to tell anybody how to vote. We'll see the votes in a minute, but he had an outstanding game.
Absolutely extraordinary. He was the one who didn't deviate from type. He was just as brilliant as he was for Arsenal and Villarreal, amongst others.
And as we said, and actually as Mark said in his commentary, Jens Lehmann was good at saving penalties when it mattered in his club and international career. Remember him in the World Cup for Germany, of course. And he did it right at the end, because if Figo had scored, there would have been an interesting last minute there.
That's right. It was 1997 all over again in the San Siro when he was the Schalke goalkeeper, of course, the big rivals of Borussia Dortmund, against Inter, winning that UEFA Cup.
Okay, who was man of the match? Time for our next hangout. So who was man of the match then in the game that we have just seen? Let's get our first participant up. And who do you think it is? Who are you and who do you think it is? Joel. Hello, Joel.
Hello. Maybe the obvious choice for today will be Robert Pires, but given the fantastical lob over his own keeper, Jens Lehmann, and his unfortunate sending off at the end, I will instead have to go for Laudrup. I think it was a great man, Michel Platini, that described him as one of the most talented players ever, and only his lack of selfishness caused him to score less goals than he maybe could have, and that was very apparent today.
Thank you very much indeed. He was absolutely outstanding to watch today and outstanding as a player as well. Jim, who was your man of the match then?
For me, despite the sending off and the lob, it's going to be Robert Pires because, as Andy said, he just looked like the same player he did when he was playing the game. It was brilliant. He had a genuine, huge influence on the game. It's just brilliant to watch him turning back the clock.
Jim, thank you very much indeed. He glided round the pitch, didn't he, when you watched him as a player? Same today. And his ability to keep possession of the football was always one of his real strengths.
That's right, and ultimately, given that there was that comeback from the B team towards the end, that made the difference. That little spell, maybe with about 10 minutes to go, where they couldn't close the gap, the B team, because the A team just had the ball the whole time.
Yep, keep the ball, the opposition can't score. Christian's next. Christian, who's your player of the match we've just seen?
I think when you try and do this, you look for that one moment, and it was when Zola did a few step-overs, and they were just as fluent as when he was at Chelsea. And when he did that, I thought, yeah, this guy has not lost it. The pace might not be there, but the brain and the feet have still got it.
Yeah, Christian, that's a very fair point. It's always a good debate who has been the most influential European or overseas player in the Premier League. People talk about Cantona, people talk about Bergkamp as well, but a lot of people talk about Zola in that category.
And with reason. I think not just his brilliance for Chelsea, not just that he helped them step up a level as a club. And, you know, you think of, he was someone who learnt his trade at Napoli as the understudy to Maradona. You know, could you have any better grounding? But it was the way he conducted himself off the pitch, and he's been exactly the same as Watford manager this season. Yeah,
hugely influential and still very, very popular person in England, that's for sure. Paul is up next. Paul, who's your man of the match?
Well, as a card-carrying member of the Goalkeepers Union, I'm going to have to give it to Jens Lehmann. Not because I think he had a particularly good game. He's a bit mad, and you know, you like to see that in games like that. Players just doing stuff out of the ordinary. So yeah, and a penalty save as well, I suppose. But no, yeah, definitely going to give it to Lehmann.
Laps it, and I like the way the commentator said when he committed that foul at the end. We've seen this before, he said, of course, harking back to Paris 2006.
Yeah, I think it was completely accidental on this occasion anyway.
And Nicholas is up next. Nicholas, who's your man of the match then?
Well, the player I was looking forward to see was Jens Lehmann, and he was thoroughly entertaining, but my man of the match is going to be Robert Pires. I think he was absolutely brilliant, displayed some great technical skill, and was thoroughly entertaining to watch him.
Nicholas, thank you very much indeed. OK, let's reveal to you, wherever you are, who the man of the match is in the manner in which you have voted. So let's have a look and see. Let's have a look at the figures. And it's Robert Pires, which I don't think comes as any great surprise. Put his imprint on the game from the word go, didn't he?
Absolutely. Only 39 years old and out of contract.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah. Players quite often play well when they're coming towards the end of a contract, don't they? Yeah.
That's right, he was playing for something.
He was playing for something, wasn't just pride. Terrific. Robert Pires, probably just a bit too, well, mind you, Ryan Giggs is still playing with a contract. He's older than that, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, we all know clubs are trying to cut costs. Free agents are at a premium.
Yeah. OK, so it's Robert Pires. Thank you very much for your contributions in that particular hangout. OK, and we're going to speak to Giovanni van Bronckhorst, I think, at some stage. And here he is.
Well, Gio van Bronckhorst, did you enjoy the occasion?
Oh, it's good to come every year with the final and play with all your old colleagues and your old opponents. It's a great atmosphere, and of course, you know, building the momentum till the final.
What's your favourite UEFA Champions League moment yourself?
For me, well, I think there's two moments. My first game in the Champions League was against Juventus back in '96, which they had a fantastic team, and of course winning the trophy in 2006 with Barcelona is, you know, one of the highlights of my career.
Do you feel that Barcelona team, that Barcelona era, will ever be topped by anybody?
Well, difficult. You know, it's going to be difficult because they've been so good for many years, and but we have to see.
Could be Bayern Munich, you never know.
No, because they're looking quite strong, and maybe this is the start of their era, but we have to wait and see.
Thank you very much indeed.
Well, we've enjoyed this Legends match very much indeed, and of course we're looking forward to the Wembley showdown between Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Karl-Heinz Riedler has kindly joined us. Nobody better qualified to talk about this and what it would mean if Dortmund could get over the line as well. Look at the grin on his face, rightly so. So Dortmund, what chance this evening, Karl-Heinz?
I mean, from the paper, I would say Bayern is the better team in the moment. They had a great season. Even in the Champions League, they played brilliantly against Barcelona. So from this point, I think they're in advantage and favorite, but Dortmund has a good chance. we had the same situation, 97. We had no chance at all, and at the end we won it. So in football, is everything happens. So I hope for Dortmund.
Do you think your team had less chance than tonight's team do? You were that much an outsider in 97.
Exactly. Juventus was the best team in Europe by miles. So we hadn't had a really chance, but we took it. And this time is not the difference is not as big as it was in our time. But Dortmund has a good chance to me, 60% maybe for Bayern Munich, and the rest for Dortmund 40.
What part do the Dortmund fans play in the Dortmund club, and particularly an occasion like this tonight?
A lot. I mean, if you see, or if you've ever been in the stadium in Westfalenstadion, so you can imagine here will be a lot of fans from Dortmund, and they're really pushing the team forward. So I hope they can do it. They'll be the 12 men in the game, and yeah, that would be fine.
And what are your thoughts on Jurgen Klopp? He's done an interview with the British media this week. He comes across extremely well, a real football man, but a great character as well.
Yeah, he is a great character. He's a really good coach, and everybody loves him in Germany. And he's the right coach for this area in Dortmund. There are people that love him like a god. So, and he's actually a very, very good coach. So this is the right copy.
Yeah. And everybody in Germany, am I right in thinking, unless they support Munich, they'll want Dortmund to win. Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Everybody wants Dortmund to win.
Yeah. It's a little bit like Manchester United in England, I suppose, Andy, isn't it? Unless you support Manchester United, you tend to support the team they're playing.
I suppose so, but I guess it's a mark of lasting success.
Yeah, well, it is. What do you make of this Bayern Munich team and the way they responded to the crushing disappointment of losing to Chelsea last season on penalties?
Yeah, they get even stronger out. You could see it this year, and they made 2-3 good buys. Dante in the back, and even with Martinez in the midfield. So this is a strong team, and I think this is all gone from last year from Chelsea. So it won't be in the head of the players anymore.
Yeah, and Lewandowski. I mean, we don't know what he's going to do in the summer, but he will be key tonight for Dortmund, won't he?
Yeah, he will be giving 100%. I think this would be fantastic for him to win this thing, and he's not thinking about Bayern Munich or something else.
Yeah. Karl-Heinz, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely. Great to hear from an absolute legend from yesteryear, star of the 1997 team, star of Ajax and Manchester United team now pitch side with Nigel.
Edwin van der Sar, did you enjoy that?
One hand, yes. Other hand, I think I conceded about 25 or something, so not really for a goalkeeper.
But the occasion as a whole, playing with so many UEFA Champions League legends, you must enjoy that.
Yeah, of course. You always remember the games you played against each other. Sometimes you've won, otherwise other games you've lost. But at the end, everybody is a lover of football. So that's how you started out as a young boy, and that we all made a career this big, and that you had the opportunity to win a Champions League has been great. And to see so many people here and enjoying the event is fantastic.
And does a Wembley final tonight bring back some very recent memories for you?
Yeah, but horrible memories, because it was my last game I played in my career, and I lost that against Barcelona. So to be fair, Wembley is not my favorite stadium.
Really, you never had success there?
No, not a lot.
But of course, you've won the Champions League yourself, and you won in a penalty shootout, and it's the sort of game this evening that could even go that close.
Yeah, it could. Of course, there's a big difference between Bayern Munich and Dortmund in the league. But yeah, it's a one-off game, and of course, Bayern has the confidence. But I think when the game starts well for Dortmund, it could be a very interesting game.
And do you think we're seeing two of the best goalkeepers in Europe here tonight?
Yeah, I think Manuel Neuer, he got mentioned a couple of times when I left United, and we played against Schalke in the semi-final that year. And he made some fantastic saves, and also the other goalkeeper. I saw him play against Ajax at the beginning of the Champions League season, and yeah, he's really quick off his line, and yeah, it would be a great game to watch for both goalkeepers.
Thank you very much indeed.
Right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Edwin van der Sar, absolute legend of the game. OK, the final might be tonight, but it doesn't end there as far as here is concerned in the UEFA Champions Festival, because it'll be open tomorrow for a very special event. It's a day dedicated to grassroots football, and the world's top 16 freestylers will also be battling it out in the final of the World Freestyle Championships. Some fantastic freestylers, so if you're in the area tomorrow, come down here and have a look at that. That looks like it'll be very spectacular indeed. Okay, time for our final hangout. And we're throwing ahead to tonight. Who is going to win the UEFA Champions League final at Wembley? Paul is first up. Paul, which bit of Germany is the title going to?
You see, I've got a real soft spot for Dortmund, basically because as a Liverpool fan, I don't want to see another team get to 5 European Cups. But no, really, to be honest, just reading what the interviews that Klopp's been doing, I just love his attitude towards football. We all have a little bit of the underdog as well, so I'm going with Dortmund.
You're going for Dortmund, Paul. Thank you very much. A lot of people are going to feel that, aren't they? They're going to admire Munich, but they might almost favour Dortmund. A little bit of the underdog in here, a little bit of the character of Klopp.
Yes, I think so. That personality goes a really long way. And I think it was interesting hearing people making comparisons between Jurgen Klopp and Jose Mourinho. Of course, superficially, they seem very different. But in fact, they're quite similar in the sense that their team really carries their personality onto the pitch, I think.
I've also seen similarities between Klopp and Wenger. In other words, not a top-profile player, but somebody whose playing career might have been, reasonably insignificant in terms of the top leagues, but an extremely successful manager.
Well, that's right. I mean, of course, that they weren't the very best of the best as players, but they both had their moments. And I think, it's a very different skill, management, and it is something that they've clearly studied from a very early point in their professional career as players and then taken it on into practice.
Yeah, Paul also honest enough to admit that he doesn't want Bayern Munich to equal Liverpool's 5 European titles. Nicholas is up next. Nicholas, who's going to win this one tonight?
I'm really hoping that Dortmund is going to win. I mean, the football romantic in me wants them to win. Where they've come from their financial troubles 10 years ago, and look where they are now. But I think Bayern Munich, realistically, are going to take this final, given how they've been playing in the Bundesliga and the Champions League scene on a one.
Yeah. It's a good point he makes, Nicholas, in the sense that they obviously recovered from what happened at home to Chelsea very quickly. They didn't let the hangover last, did they, over the summer into the autumn, because they started the season very well.
That's right, and I think that has to be down to Jupp Heynckes. But I think what's shown more is, of course, they started last season brilliantly as well. After losing the opening game against Borussia Mönchengladbach, they went on an absolutely superb run, and up until January, February, it looked like they, rather than Dortmund, were going to take the 2012 title. But I think it's how they recovered to knockbacks during the season, and the fact that Heynckes created this spirit, so no one was sure of their place, but no one sulked about it. So that there are players on the periphery, like Mario Gomez has been for a lot of this season, like Arjen Robben was for a lot of the first part of the season, and when their time came, they were ready to seize the opportunity. And to have that sort of depth is something that could really stand them in good stead, not just over the course of this season, but in this final as well, as the match situation progresses.
Well, as Karl-Heinz Riedler said to us earlier, probably 60-40 just as it in favour of Munich, just as it sits at the moment. Christian's up next. Christian, where's the title going to? Is it going to Munich or Dortmund?
I hope it's going to Dortmund. I feel like tonight could be the perfect culmination of 6 to 8 years' work for them. And when I think of, European finals of the past, it's always been the stage for a young star to emerge, and I feel like that's really got potential with Dortmund and some of their players.
Who do you think he's talking about in particular, Christian? I mean, Royce is somebody, isn't it? Certainly in terms of if you're in Germany, but the wider European public, Marco Reus, have really got to know this player in the last 12 months.
Absolutely, and Marco Reus did say he'd come back to Dortmund, which of course was his local club, which he left as a youngster, to win the UEFA Champions League. That's precisely why he came back. So if he could do that in his first season, it could be incredible. But of course, Christian could be talking about Ilkay Gundogan. He could be talking about Mats Hummels, who of course left Bayern Munich after coming through their youth system and has probably been the best defender in the Bundesliga over the last 2 or 3 years. There are a lot of candidates, as he says.
Christian, who are you thinking about in particular? Because Andy's been outlining a few of the contenders, but are you thinking about any one player in particular there?
I do think Gundogan, just because he's had his own meteoric rise recently from joining Dortmund with that pressure, with having to really be the focus of that side in midfield.
OK, Christian, thank you for that. Jim's up next. Jim, who's going to win the Champions League this evening?
Like a lot of people, I would love to see Dortmund win it, but I think it will be Bayern. And what's really interesting about them, I mean, this is their third final in 4 years. If they don't win it, it's devastating for them. And not a lot of people are focusing on that. But they've shown so often that they're not affected by pressure. They come through. I mean, they beat Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate. That's an absolutely incredible scoreline. I think they've just got so much talent in that team that they'll overcome.
Jim makes a good point, doesn't he, Andy? For a lot of people, they will feel it's now or never for Bayern Munich. If they can't win this at the end of the season that they've had, and they lose 3 finals in 4 years, where are they going to go when it comes to trying to take this title?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that Jim's made there, Mark. And I think Karl-Heinz Riedler sort of touched on it when he was on with us a minute ago. He was talking about the Juventus side that Dortmund beat in 1997. They played those 3 successive finals in 95, 96, 97, and only won one of them. And they were, I agree with Karl-Heinz, the best team in Europe at the time. But, you know, Bayern really want to prove it as well.
Yeah. OK, and Joel is going to finish things up. Joel, who's going to win tonight?
Well, for me, it's got to be Bayern Munich. Klopp played as both a defender and striker at times. Dortmund are equally fluent. I think that's what's made so many people love them. But for me, without Mario Götze, they just aren't as strong. And with players like Ribery shining through in the Bundesliga and on the European stage, I think it will be Bayern Munich's Champions League to lose tonight.
Will we look back as the absence of Götze, which is clearly going to be damaging, as maybe just the pivotal thing which tips this in Munich's favour?
Well, I think there's always that possibility, Mark, because it's going to be fine margins, and we've seen that, as we talked about before, from games between Bayern and Dortmund over the last couple of seasons. But I think, you know, Dortmund have had Götze injured on a number of occasions over the last season and a half, and they've always shown the ability to cope with it, and the existing players have shown the ability to step up. So I'm not really sure if that will make the difference.
Yeah. OK, Christian, let's just get some final thoughts of you on tonight's final. Just talk to me about Ribery a little bit. We've mentioned him in passing, but not in great detail, Christian, about the part that Ribery might play this evening.
Yeah, he's a wonderful player. I think his technical gifts are well presented throughout Europe, and I think along with Robben they give them such dynamism on the wings, and that can be a real problem, especially because we've seen that maybe if there's a weak link in this Dortmund side, it's at fullback, and when you've got such talent in Robben and Ribery who are quite willing to interchange with each other, it's something that you're going to have to watch, definitely.
Christian, thank you very much. Thank you to you wherever you have been and taking part in our Hangout. Great to get your views wherever you have been in the world, and looking forward to the Champions League final this evening. What about Ribery for you and the part that he might play this evening?
Well, he's made an extraordinary difference for Bayern over the last 2 seasons. And really, he's always put it down to Jupp Heynckes. He said, you know, I was wondering a little over my future with Bayern, but he's completely re-energised me. And I think Christian hit on it there when he was talking about the energy that he brings, the vitality that he brings. You know, not just his skill, but the fact that he works enormously hard. He always comes off the pitch sweating buckets. He does a lot defensively as well. And I think to have a manager that he really loves, really feels close to, really feels trusted by, is very important in that.
I just want to touch something also that Edwin van der Sar talked about when he was talking about the 2 goalkeepers. I'm saying we as in the wider European context. Manuel Neuer is somebody known very well, but Weidenfeller in goal for Dortmund not so well, but there's not a lot between them. I mean, Neuer is an outstanding goalkeeper, but so's the Dortmund keeper in here.
That's right, and you could even argue that Weidenfeller is better commanding his area and better on crosses. And of course, he's the captain of Dortmund. They always look to him. He is a real leader. He's a real personality. And if we go back to the first time these teams played each other in the league this season at the Allianz Arena, of course, both the league games were 1-1 draws. He really saved that, and Jupp Heynckes said, quite frankly, why he's not in the German team is an absolute mystery to me.
Yeah, and Hummels as well there, when he should be fit tonight, because I've watched him quite a lot over the last 2 or 3 seasons. What an outstanding centre-half he is.
That's right, Mark, but he could make a difference at the other end as well. Of course, Bayern don't have a lot of weaknesses. We know that from seeing them a lot this season. But if they do have a little weakness, it's probably on set pieces. Even when they beat Hamburg 9-2 in the Bundesliga, they conceded 2 goals from corners. Now, Subotic and Hummels could be a really big difference in that if Dortmund can get the right delivery in. And Hummels, not just great with his head, but a good finisher with his feet too for a defender.
Well, you can't miss the Dortmund fans all around London today in the yellow and black, of course, so let's catch up with a few of them now.
Well, we have two very committed Borussia Dortmund fans here looking forward to the game at Wembley this evening. We can see the club crest shaved in the back of your head. Guys, if you can just turn around so we can have a quick chat with you. We've spoken to many Bayern fans here who are very confident, but how do you feel as Dortmund fans?
I feel it's a great day. Everything is wonderful. The people here are very friendly. So for us Germans, it's very easy to come around, see something and have fun.
Are you old enough to remember the last time you won the European Cup?
Yes, I'm 25, and 1997 we won the final. So I saw it in the TV and it was great.
Last week was wonderful, a great goal.
And your coach, Jurgen Klopp, everybody in England, everybody around Europe really seems to like him because he seems very relaxed all of the time.
He's a crazy guy. You love him or you hate him. That's the big point. And we love him. It's the perfect coach for Borussia Dortmund.
And how will your team cope without Mario Götze tonight?
Difficult, but I think we win.
I think it's better that he is not playing because he's the only people who can, he can win or he can lose both. So his old club or his new club. So it's better than he's not playing.
Well, enjoy the day, guys, and enjoy the game tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Interesting to hear them saying that maybe they think it's easier that Götze is not playing tonight, of course, against the team that he's going to join. Lewandowski, though, his performance in the semi-final, that was something else, wasn't it? I mean, really was.
Yes, absolutely. And there was some understated great work from Mario Götze in that, with all the talk of his transfer. But yes, it was all about Lewandowski, and that's always the case for Dortmund. You know, he's someone who's so relentlessly consistent, and he's been even more so in the second half of this season.
We're going to hear from some Munich fans in a second, but some signings they've made over the summer, which means, of course, they're not tarred, if you like, by the brush of what happened against Chelsea. Javier Martinez and Dante at the back as well.
That's right, and I think the great thing with Javier Martinez is he can drop into the back four if needed to be, if the full-backs push on, sort of in the way that Sergio Busquets does for Barcelona. But I think really you could argue that Javier Martinez was the outstanding performer in that first leg of the semi-final against Barcelona. He was just such a ball of energy, box to box, really snapping at Barcelona. And to have him next to Schweinsteiger, who sort of sets the tempo of the play, is very, very important for them.
So we've heard from some Dortmund fans. What about the Munich fans? Here they are.
Well, let's get a fan's eye view of the final now with some Bayern München fans here in the shadow of the Olympic Stadium. First of all, are you enjoying London?
Yes, of course. It's a nice city.
And what about tonight? Are you confident?
I think so. It's for sure. We take the cup home.
And do you think your team has recovered from what happened 12 months ago against Chelsea?
Okay, it's a question for him.
Okay, do you think your team has recovered after what happened 12 months ago against Chelsea?
Yes, we are here to win.
And Bayern Munich always wins, I suppose you feel?
This year always.
And who are the key players we should be looking out for tonight?
Sorry?
Who are the key players we should be looking out for tonight?
I think Ribery, Robben, Schweinsteiger, and of course Neuer.
And of course your coach, it's your final game for him tonight. You're bringing in Guardiola, so Guardiola's going to have a...
The final game for our coach is next week. In the German final.
And Guardiola's going to have some act to follow now, isn't he?
Some.
Guardiola's going to have a difficult act to follow now. Okay. Guardiola's going to have to do a difficult job now.
I don't know, maybe. Let's see what happened.
Right, thanks very much. Enjoy the game.
Like Beckenbauer said.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the game.
Nigel, we can answer that question for them. Yes, he will, won't he? Because if Henkes wins the treble, because of course got the German Cup final to come against Stuttgart, what a difficult, respectively speaking, for Guardiola to better that.
There's no doubt about it. And of course, the German team have never won the treble before, so it would be an absolutely historic thing for Bayern. And you know, I think you have to say it's always comparative with Bayern Munich because they're a club with such a relentless history of achievement. but it would have been difficult for Heinkes to follow his own achievements if he were to carry on next season. So maybe this slight little switch of style, and they don't have a style that's a million miles apart from Barcelona anyway, is something that will give them the extra impetus and extra push, because it's always difficult to go on and do the same thing again when you've done such a peerless season as they have.
We've heard some really good comments from Karl-Heinz Riedler giving us the case of Borussia Dortmund. But Munich are still the favourites here, aren't they? Dortmund have still... I mean, there's not a lot in it, but they are the favourites, aren't they?
Undoubtedly. I don't think you can really dispute that. They've been fantastic all season. And I think to have those players on the fringe who are so hungry that they can maybe change the game with if things aren't going their way is something that's going to be quite important.
And I know it's an all-German final, but I think Wembley is actually a very good venue for it. I remember the Euro 96 final very well. And the England fans were absolutely devastated. They weren't in the final because they'd lost to Germany in the semi-final. But the Germans really took to Wembley that night. I think it'll be a fabulous setting for it.
I agree, and I think there's actually quite a kinship between Germany and England. You know, the various football cultures have both suffered our disappointments against each other in the past. If you look at the 1999 final, of course, and if you look at the final of the semi-final, I should say, of UEFA Euro 96, and I think we've got very, very similar football cultures, so they're going to love it here, as they already are doing.
Yeah, well, they're enjoying themselves already, and they'll be in great voice later on when we get to Wembley Stadium. Andy, thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the game. Thank you to you for taking part in the Google Plus Hangout, wherever you've been. Enjoy the final tonight, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.